r/TalesFromRetail, episode 32. A customer freaks out over getting popcorn for the right price. I work as a key holder at a grocery store. For the most part, the customers that I interact with are rather pleasant or neutral, but every once in a while some sour fuckers come out of the woodwork. It's a somewhat busy day, and I'm running the front end by myself, so I'm being more lenient, just so things go more smoothly. I see a light blinking, and I go over to investigate. The cashier tells me that there are 2 bags of popcorn ringing up incorrectly according to the customer. The bags of popcorn were ringing up as I believed $2, but were supposed to be 2 for $3, or $1.50 each. I remember something very similar happened a couple days ago, so I give the customer the benefit of the doubt and I immediately change the price without even looking through the weekly flyer or looking at the tags of the shelf. Despite changing the price of something on the spot with no fucking question, something that could possibly come back to me if I was wrong, this lady was still not happy. And this is the second time something rang up wrong this week. Your store is going completely downhill. I'm going to complain to the manager, post to your Facebook page about this, and contact the Better Business Bureau. I had no idea what to do other than just walk away. She paid for her stuff and the last time I saw her she was walking toward customer service asking to see the manager. I didn't hear anything from any manager about this situation. I cannot fathom why the fuck this lady was still mad, even though I made the price of her popcorn what she said it was supposed to be. Was it because it took me a total of 45 seconds to walk over, listen to the situation, and change the price? Give me my refund. A while ago I worked for a gaming retailer selling anything console based. The worst part of the job by far was the stinking cretins that came in to trade their games in. The amount of times I've opened up a game case to be hit with a waft of VAUD sweaty greasy musty filth. This was by far the worst part of the job and we went through a considerable amount of air freshener. We had one regular customer, you know the ones that come in, waste an hour, and buy fuck all. One of the weeks we had some new limited edition consoles come in brand new. To my surprise they ended up buying one. It was spoken about by the staff as they'd never bought anything before and wondered if they robbed a bank or pushed over an old lady for her purse. Couple of days passes before they return to the store carrying a very clearly used console, and I'm guessing this thing has become faulty due to the lack of oxygen in their tobacco fogged home. The excuse for wanting to return the console. When we got home we realized we didn't have a TV. They said they never used it as they couldn't and wanted a full refund. You never know who you meet working. This story was from 14 years ago back on Long Island and AMP doesn't involve anyone being rude or nasty, so if that's what you came here for, sorry to disappoint. I was working at my register around Thanksgiving/Christmas time when a nice older lady came up to my register and we had a brief conversation about how the holidays bring out the best in people, which they do, if you don't count the maniacs shopping. Then the topic of how everyone should be thankful for what they have, and we should never take a minute later for granted. She then surprised me with I know probably better than anyone the truth of that. Not sure how many of you know, but the year before, 2004, she became famous for being the victim of teenagers throwing frozen turkeys out of their car into oncoming traffic going the other way. It hit her car, broke through the window, bent the steering wheel before hitting, and basically destroyed her face. Google it if you think I'm kidding. Needless to say, that I was in shock, because she healed to the point you couldn't tell, that nearly every bone in her face was shattered, her jaw wired shut, and was living off a feeding tube just a year prior. I told her that after hearing the story, I was happy to see how well she recovered. I then asked her if they ever found the kids who did it. She said she did, and she asked the judge to go easy on them as she forgave them. I instantly remember hearing that in the paper, and I told her you are a much better person than I could ever be, because I don't think I would be as forgiving if that was me. She appreciated me honesty and understood where I was coming from, as I'm sure others have said something similar. Such a sweet lady that I was honored to have met even for just a few minutes. A reunion with the man who threatened to kill me. I found out about this sub recently, and I have many retail stories to share, so this will mark the first, I suppose. Over the summer, I worked at a drugstore out on Long Island. I bike everywhere, and to get to the store, I had to take one of two major roads. One of the roads was bigger and had a faster speed limit, and it makes me uncomfortable to have so many cars whizzing by me. I normally choose the smaller road, which, in theory, has a slower speed limit, but because the road has less traffic, people go at whatever speed they want, because the traffic cops mainly stick to the big road. Another obstacle on this smaller road is that it is very close to the beach, so there will often be large patches of sand on the side of the road, which is especially dangerous for cyclists. I was biking to work one morning, and I had to go a bit into the road to avoid one of the patches of sand, and was surprised when I heard a loud car horn right behind me. A split second later, a red minivan whizzed around me, going well above the speed limit. I was annoyed by their lack of decorum, so I theatrically flipped them off with both arms. To my surprise, the car stopped until I came alongside it. Sitting in the driver's seat was an older man not wearing a shirt. As I passed him, he accelerated, trying to run me off the road, coming alongside me and then swerving towards me while screaming about how he was going to beat me up and kill me. I ignored him as best I could, dodging his car with little difficulty as there was a small grassy incline that I stayed on top of, and he eventually gave up and drove off. I arrived at work with no further incident. I mainly forgot the details of the incident a while later. A few days after, I was checking out an older gentleman at the store, and we started a small conversation, and it was very nice. I wished him a nice day, and he left. Over the next few weeks, he came in every couple of days to pick up groceries and the like. Each time, we had a small conversation. One day, our conversation drifted over to the roads and traffic, and he mentioned that he always drives on the road that I bike on. I mention that I always use that road to get to work as well, and then I mention that sometimes drivers can be a bit aggressive on that road, mentioning that I had an incident a couple of weeks ago. As I say this, and I'm looking at him, something clicks, and I realize that this man who I've enjoyed talking to these last few weeks is the same guy who threatened to kill me all those weeks ago. He realizes the same thing, and we stare at each other in silence for a few moments before his transaction goes through, and he abruptly leaves the store. I never saw him again. Gotta love the classic one-liners. I work in a well-known game store and it's the only one in town. We get a lot of people who try to rent games from us by buying them, returning them before the 7 days for a full cash refund expires, then try to buy back the game they didn't like, or was the wrong version, or it didn't work, just a day or two later. We got to the point that with these regulars we'll flat out deny having the game they want to buy back, to keep them from fucking up our profits/inventory any more than they already are, and we've had regulars come into our store and complain that they went to another store in another city and discovered their account had been frozen/banned for abusing the store policy. For some reason they think we'll magically be able to free their account, or like their account will work in our store for reasons. Any rate, just the other day a dude tried to return his XB1 controller simply because his son didn't like it. His son had been playing with for at least a week, and since he bought it new and then played with it, the controller had officially gone from new to used. The dude kept insisting that, even though it was in fact used, he should get a full refund, as if it were new because, well, I come here a lot, and I've spent a lot of money here. Dude. Everyone comes to this store a lot. They also spend a lot of money since games, consoles, and controllers are expensive. Why should you be above the return policy? The controller worked fine and played fine. Your brat of a kid just didn't like it for a reason they couldn't give us. The manager did take it back, but laid it on thick, letting him know that he was going to have to defect it out, which means we lost profit and now the whole store is hurting. He also told him that it was going to be the one and only time, and if he tries it again he'll be barred from the store. I honestly doubt we can bar him from the store over one controller, but it sounded convincing enough that the dude essentially paled and agreed to not try to do it again. Seriously though. Why do people seriously think that their patronage alone is keeping an entire store afloat? No one is that powerful, and you're not special.